The essence of Christianity is just being. Not becoming, being. That is the essence of the new creation. Just be like Him in all things. All right, good afternoon. All right, we're going to jump into life teams and talk about life teams. I told you after lunch we would discuss life teams, share what life teams are about, help answer your questions, and we're going to do exactly that. So, I'll get to this board here in a minute and some other things, but real quick, let's just talk about what life teams are and why life teams are important. Life teams are biblical New Testament churches. If you go through Scripture and you go to the book of Acts, the church didn't necessarily, and please understand when I say this, necessarily gather in a temple or in a, what we think of a sanctuary or a church building per se. They went from house to house, and I forget how many times the Scripture actually mentions about house church here, a house church there, all these different house churches. Even Paul was praying for there was another woman, I can't think of her name right now, I think it might have been Lydia, and the house church that she had, and all these different things that were established. And so when I say it's New Testament biblical churches, I'm not saying, it's unbiblical to have a large building or for God to give you a brick and mortar building. I'm not saying that's unbiblical, but hear what I'm saying. It's the idea of meeting in a home is the way God had it intended it to be. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a big gathering area like Dominion Life Gettysburg. We actually meet in a fire hall. It's where we meet. But we look at that building or that function of Dominion Life Gettysburg as being the Army barracks or the place where all the life teams can gather together, continue training, get the materials that they need for their life teams, encourage one another. We come together in that setting to celebrate what's happening in the life teams, share testimonies and things like that. But then we go back out to the homes and the communities and the streets to where those are the boots on the ground. That's where the work of the ministry is actually happening. The work of the ministry really isn't happening in the building per se. The work of the ministry is happening out in the streets and the highways, the byways, the places where we meet, where the rubber meets the road is out there, right? And so that's why I said, I don't know if it was day 1, day 2, but I said everything we do in here must affect the Great Commission out there. And so that's what life teams are doing. Now we look at life teams as small military type units, militant units, like almost like a Green Beret or a Navy SEAL unit that does life together, trains together. Everything they do is together, and not only do they do life together and train together, but then they go out into the streets together to do ministry together. They are required to meet at least once a week. That's something we do. Now, they can meet more often than that, but at least the minimum requirement is they meet once a week. Because again, if you go back to Acts chapter 2, you saw that the church went daily from house to house, breaking bread, fellowshipping, praying, adhering to the apostles' teachings. I mean, these are the things they did on a daily basis, right? So I'm not saying you have to limit it to once a week, but you could do it more than once a week if you wanted to, but the minimum would be once a week. But we look at them as special units. Jesus had the 12 that he poured himself into. That technically was his life team, right? That was his team, his core team, we would say that. Even in the 12, he even had an inner group. He had his outer group, the 12 as a whole, but even in the 12, he had an inner group, right? Which would have been Peter, James, and John, honestly, would have been probably his inner circle, where other times when the other disciples didn't know where he was, Peter, James, and John knew where he was. And so that would have been the inner circle. And he actually was times where he went on, special missions or special assignments, and those were the only 3 that he took. So we saw that there was some kind of an inner circle there. We would look at that as your leader in training. So as a life team leader, you're in your home, and yes, you're pouring into maybe 12 people. Maybe it's usually we say for life teams, no more than 15. If it's more than 15, it's kind of, I don't say it's getting out of hand, but now it's kind of hard to be intimately involved with everyone's life when it's more than that. The U.S. military has studied and actually spent a lot of money, I'm sure, on finding out this study, but they found out that a leader can effectively lead no more than 12 guys. Seems like Jesus knew that sooner than the military knew that. Now, when it gets beyond 12 guys, that's where it gets harder to lead people, right? Now, effectively, I'm not saying you can't lead people, but effectively lead them, meaning that you're reproducing yourself into them, right? You're raising them up to be just like you. Like Paul said, follow me as I follow Christ. Someone had once asked Billy Graham, it was before his death, they asked Billy Graham, what is one of the one mistakes that you made in your life that you wish you could do over again? And he said, his answer was, he says, not that I despise the stadiums and the outreach, the revivals or whatever they would do, what's the word I'm looking for? Crusades. Thank you. The crusades. He says, not that I despise the crusades with millions of people getting born again. He says, but one thing I failed to do and I would do over again. He says, I would get 12 people and pour myself into them. He realized he missed the mark on discipleship. Jesus commands us, watch, he doesn't command us to go out and make converts. He commands us to go out and make what? Disciples. Disciples pour in to other disciples. If you're a disciple of Christ, you pour into somebody. You need a Paul and you need a Timothy. There should be someone pouring into you, but then there should be people that you're pouring into. We need to be, the idea of life teams is to be reproducers who reproduce reproducers. It's constant, reproducing. Actually, we'd be nice if we could throw it up on the screen, but it's not a big deal. In DBI year 2, there's actually this really cool thing Curry put together, and it talks about, and actually breaks it down by numbers, and if everybody did this, right, the discipleship method, you literally could overtake the world in actually 1 year. If everybody did 12 people, and then those 12 people reproduced 12 people, and then those 12, it would just literally just trickle over until the whole world would be discipled. All right, the discipleship method is what Jesus wanted instituted, not the salvation, not the convert. Let me get you born again, but then just leave you. It's no. We got to disciple people. Life teams is where discipleship happens. So coming back, Jesus had his 12. I'm going to let you talk in a minute. I'm sorry. Jesus had his 12. Jesus had his 12. Now beyond that, he had the 70, that he did pour into as well. Not as closely as the 12, and not even as closely as the 3, right? Then he had the multitudes that followed. Okay. Again, Paul says, commit yourself to faithful men. Jesus committed himself to those 12. Yes, the 70 he taught as well and sent them out. The multitudes he taught, but the ones that he actually did life with were the 12. Those are the ones he spent day and night with. Those were the ones he poured himself into. That's the idea of life teams, reproducing Christ in others, right? And so it has to be through discipleship. Go ahead, I'll let you share.
I think sometimes people ask why. Why life teams? Why can't just church and Bible study be the way to go? And not that in a way that's wrong, but when you look at life teams, the goal is to rapidly multiply. Mm-hmm. And really what it is like he said, you have that 12 that you can focus on, that you can train together, that you can encourage, and you build that unit where you're so knit together and you're going after a mission, but then there comes the part where it's time for you to branch off. And honestly, we're here today because Patty was a part of our life team, and Patty decided to branch off.
Yep.
And now Patty has her own life team, and now people from her life team are going to have life teams. And it's the thought of using that time intentionally to grow, to develop fast, so that you can reproduce yourself in others and take this further and faster than you would be able to in a huge corporate body.
Right. Absolutely. Rapidly reproducing unit. That's what we're doing. And that's the idea of life teams too, is you don't want a life team, and you don't want to gather people into your home to keep them. I think I touched on this earlier, but the church, at least some of the buzzwords in church is like retention and all that, right? We're not here to retain you. We're here to get you equipped, get you trained, and send you back out, right? And that's the idea of a life team. Yes, it's kind of the bittersweet thing because you build family unit, you get close, you get knit together, right? And you do life together, and then it's like all of a sudden some of them are leaving to go start their own, and that's a bittersweet thing. It's kind of like your kids when they leave the nest. It's exactly what I feel as a leader and as a father of a life team. It's like, when my kids leave the nest, it's like, oh man, my kids are leaving. But I'm excited. Why? Because they're actually going out and doing what I did. When I found out about life teams, when I found out about the JJLM message and Brother Curry, and I was just on fire for this. I was like, well, I got to do this. Back in the day, the old life team system, they used to have a map. And you could go on the map and you could see where all the life teams were, and you could see, okay, we'll go on the map, let's see if there's anything near me. I found out about life teams, and I went right to the map, and I was looking at the map, and I was disappointed, and I was like, there's no life teams. I was like, there's no life teams near me, right? The closest to me was, I think, D.C., Philadelphia, or Pittsburgh, but nothing near Gettysburg. And then the Lord just said to me, start one. I was like, oh, start one? I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know? He said, start one. And so I started the process. And we're going to walk you through some of that process. We actually have it up here on the board. It may be hard for some of you to see. I'm going to let this up here so that you guys during the next break can come up and snap a picture of that. But this is pretty much the process that's behind us. So,
if you guys are even considering maybe wanting to start a life team, don't be intimidated. It's not, you don't necessarily have to be the teacher of the life team. When we started out, we actually took and we put on Brother Curry's videos. We watched them for 45 minutes, and then afterwards we had a group discussion about what we heard, what we thought about it, questions we had, and we had group discussion, and that's how we started out. Yep. It was simple. We listened to the message. We talked. So if you're even thinking about it, don't make it difficult. It's not hard. It's really not.
Right. It's not. It's not. And then the other thing that the life team does then too, not only do they listen, talk, and discuss and learn and grow, but then they put into action what they've learned. You go out and, for instance, like I said, life teams typically meet, the minimum they can meet is one time a week. They have to meet in person. You cannot meet over Zoom. Life teams must meet in person. That is a requirement. Now, if let's say, for instance, we got to meet every week and do outreach, yes and no. You can, for instance, you could meet this week. Let's say like this Thursday, we're going to have life team, right? And then next Thursday, you could meet out on the streets and do street ministry. That's a meeting. Why? Because wherever you gather, you're having church. You are the church. You get what I'm saying? So, and then the following week, you can meet back in the home and train. The following week after that, you could go back out in the streets and minister, right? And so you can do it this way. So, and the other thing about life teams, not every life team is alike. We do structure them and have structure to them. Obviously, life teams will teach the JGLM material. They will teach DHT, New Man, SWAT, Mind Renewal, Diversity of the Tongues, Kingdom Finance. Pretty much any manual you see over there, the Holy Spirit manual, Demons and Deliverance, Faith. Whatever manual is over there, pretty much you can teach in a life team. You can also teach any DBI course in a life team. So if you are a life team leader and you have access to DBI, now if you don't have access to DBI, I would highly suggest you get access to at least a course or two because it's amazing. But I think they used to give away, I think God's Master Plan. If you were a life team leader, I'm pretty sure you get access to at least one. I believe it's God's Master Plan out of year one. But as a life team leader, honestly, you're not required to go through DBI, but I would highly recommend that you go through DBI, at least year one. But then you can take those courses out of DBI and then even teach them in your life team as well. And so, yes, you have a question. DBI, Dominion Bible Institute. It's actually one of the websites that's up here. It's jglm.learnworlds.com. That is the Dominion Bible Institute website. It's a 2-year Bible school done by Brother Curry. It's online. And after year one, you are able to get licensed through the ministry. Now, to be licensed in the ministry and within JGLM, it's actually the International Apostolic Council. It's what John Lake had started. It's actually older than the Assemblies of God. It was formed before the Assemblies of God. And Brother Curry inherited that council. And so it's a council, it's an International Apostolic Council that basically exists to license and ordain ministers for the gospel. And so after completing year one of DBI, you can become a licensed minister. Now, understand that's really not biblical, but that's more for legality. So I was actually having a conversation with somebody about this. It makes you legal to marry and bury, and honestly, even get into hospitals. Sometimes you need a license card or a proof of licenseship. Some hospitals our way don't really require it. Some down near the cities and stuff do, and so it just depends on the hospital. But that also allows you to get in there as a licensed minister. Now, to be licensed through the ministry, of course, you have to do year one DBI. You also have to be a certified DHT, and you have to be leading a life team. And at that point, they will license you as a minister through the International Apostolic Council. After completing year two, right, you do year two, and you want to become ordained, which is more biblical, actually. Ordination is more biblical than licensing, okay? Ordination is where the elders lay hands on you. They ordain you for a work. After year two, you can become ordained. Now, the process of that is still you have to be a certified DHT. You have to be leading a life team. if schedule permits, because some of us leaders travel, the world and the country, and sometimes it's hard to lead a life team. Like we're promoted recently to life team trainers, which puts us in a little bit different position. We're actually training other people to start life teams now. But after year 2, you have to be certified leading a life team, and you have to teach the DHT and the new man to your life team, record them, and send them into headquarters. Okay? And I will tell you, Brother Curry and the team listen to them. So I know they do because they were commenting on mine, but Guy is Curry's assistant. He told me, he says, make them exciting. He says, I got to sit in my office and listen to these things. I was like, okay, so I'll make them exciting. So, and so they listen to them. They check why, because they're not going to just lay hands on anybody and ordain anybody. They're going to make sure that you get the message, you get the truth, you have it in you, and you're teaching truth, right? And so you have to do those, submit those, and as long as you're good there, they will then, Brother Curry will ordain you under the International Apostolic Council. So that's kind of the path within DBI, if you're interested in Dominion Bible Institute. People come to seminars like this, we get excited, we hear the truth, and I mean, how many of you are getting excited about some of this stuff? It's awesome, right? You hear the truth, you get kind of set on fire, you're like, and then it's like after the seminar's over, you're like, what's next? Life teams. That's it. That's exactly what's next. That's the next step. It's getting involved in that team, getting involved in that unit, and then going out and actually doing what you've learned together. You want to see your city, your community, your street, your neighborhood changed. That's your responsibility. Go change it. You be the change. Be the change in your community. You don't like what you see, then change it. The life teams are changing communities. They're changing streets. We need life teams on every block. Someone may say, well, there's a life team down the street from me. Okay, well, the liquor stores look at it different. The liquor stores say, well, there ain't a liquor store for a block. Let me open another one. But yet the church sees a church a block down the street. Well, we can't open another church because there's a church down the block. No, every block should have a life team on it. And you should be, as a life team, that block should be your neighborhood where you make sure every house in that block, every person that lives in that area hears the name of Jesus, knows the name of Jesus, and has been witnessed to and prayed for and blessed. Why? Because you are the light in that community. That house should be a lighthouse in that community. Everybody should know that that house is a safe haven. If I get sick, man, I go over there to Patty's house and she gets me free. That's what that house should be known as. So every street, every community, every block needs a life team in it. We can't have enough life teams.
How many life team leaders do we have in here?
Current life team leaders, raise your hand. Just Patty?
Just Patty?
Where's Brother Lawrence? Is he in? You lead a life team, aren't you? Study group. Okay. Okay. So you're currently doing a study group. Yep. And you're doing a life team. Study group, okay, awesome. So let's talk about study group, life team. Let's talk about the difference, okay? Some people say, what's a study group? What's the difference between that and a life team? Study group, did you want to say something to the life team leaders? You had them raise your hand. Okay. Just trying to see who was out. Okay. So study groups don't have any requirements, okay? As a life team, there are more requirements and expectations, right? A study group can basically get together, can watch Brother Curry. They could actually teach too if they wanted to. They could teach the DHT themselves, but there's no requirements. In other words, they don't have to, be kind of pushing their members to become a certified DHT. They don't have to report in monthly to headquarters to say, hey, this is what we're doing. They're kind of, on their freedom. Now, they still have to do JGLM material, but they're really on their freedom to do whatever they want and not have requirements put on them. Life teams are a little bit different. Life teams are where it's kind of like it's getting serious now, right? This is more than just a study group. This is more than just learning. Now we're still learning, but we're doing. Like we're actually required to do it. So as a life team leader, like Patty reports, we report a life team. Actually, we report as representatives now, but we did report as life team leaders. We report monthly. And I will tell you, Brother Curry and some of the staff down there, they get your monthly reports. He reads those monthly reports. He goes as much as he can. Understand, he has a very busy schedule. But when George puts them monthly reports on his desk, he goes through them to see what these life team leaders are doing. He wants to see, how are you changing your community? What are some of the struggles you're going through? On those reports, you'll have things, and it doesn't take long to fill out reports. I mean, maybe 10, 15 minutes to fill out a report. And I think we could probably all find 10 to 15 minutes once a month to fill out a report. Right? But it doesn't take long. But you fill it out, and they'll ask you for testimonies. They'll ask you for questions. Is there any questions, anything you're struggling with, any help you need? Because what they'll do is then for instance, let's say Patty, and Patty's not struggling, please understand me, but let's say Patty's struggling with something in her life team, and she fills that monthly report out and she sends it into JGLM, JGLM is going to see that, you know, Jess and I are the local life team trainers in this area, and they're going to say, hey, Shane and Jess, can you reach out to Patty? She's really struggling with this in her life team, and she kind of needs some assistance. And then we're going to call Patty and say, hey, how can we help you? What can we do? Right? That's what we're here for. So the other thing I want you to know is if you're thinking about starting a life team, know that you're not alone, right? I think that's one of the amazing things about Life Team is while it's a worldwide ministry, there's life teams in China. I tell you, China right now is the fastest growing country for life teams. Now, we can't let people know where they're at because, again, it's a very dangerous situation. As a matter of fact, when we had the map, and if you went to China, there was life teams in China, but we didn't put them on the map because just for safety reasons, okay? But life teams in China are rapidly expanding. It's really awesome. So know that, you know, yes, we're here in La Plata, Maryland. We're in Gettysburg, you know, my little town, you know. Am I going to make a difference? Yeah, you're making a difference, but not only that, but you have people that are doing the same thing all around the globe as you and making a difference in their countries. And so it's amazing. It's really a community of people that come together. You have support. We have webinar calls. If you do decide to become a life team leader, there is a monthly life team leader training call that you can get on. It helps you just develop your team and really helps you understand, okay, this is where I need to go, what I need to do. We have a weekly, so this is for those of you that are kind of thinking about study groups, life teams. We have a weekly Q&A call. The Q&A call is every Thursday night at 8:30 Central Time, Dallas time, which would be 9:30 here, okay? 9:30 Dallas time. Now, if you want the information for the call, it's going to be on the Life Team website, which...
Next call is Shane's on the 25th.
Yeah, actually, it'll be next Thursday. I'll actually be doing the call. On the back of these Life Team brochures, there's a little QR code that'll take you directly to the website, and you'll see on there Q&A call. And you click on it, access the Q&A call right there, be in. And it's a great place to ask questions, learn, grow. I mean, you have a lot of life team leaders on there, certified DHTs on there. It's just a great, I mean, I tell you, when you get into this, you might think in the beginning, I don't have anybody in my area. I'm all alone. No, you're not all alone. You have, first of all, you have Jess and I. We're here, and we're not just here for 3 days, but we're here to support you beyond these 3 days. Amen? We're not that far away. I mean, we're only 2 hours away. And so it's not a big deal for us to come back down here. And you say you want to start a life team in your home, and he's like, you know, Pastor Shane, can you come down and show me for, you know, maybe a week or two how to do it? Sure, let's do it. Let's get in your home. Let's get the team together, and let's kind of get you off the ground so you're successful. That's what we're here to do.
I think one of the biggest questions that we get asked is, why reporting? Why do we have to report? What's this about? I answer to God. I shouldn't have to answer to anybody. And that we answer to God, absolutely. The reason that we ask for reporting is, well, there's a couple reasons. Mainly, number one, we want to know how you're doing. But I think sometimes we don't understand the seriousness. JGLM gets thousands of emails a day, thousands. And they get an email, and then they'll look up, oh, I see Patty is in Fairfax, and this woman here just wrote in a prayer request. Her husband's dying, and they need somebody to pray for her husband. These situations are life and death situations. And through the reporting, they're going to know you've been faithful. Mm-hmm. You're seeing results. You're getting the job done, you know. And so that's why, you know, because some people just have a issue sometimes with wanting to report. Like I said, it's not hard. Mm-hmm. It's not because we want to know, oh, yeah, you're going to get a sticker because you got 10 people healed this month, and, you know, we're going to call and yell at you because you didn't get anybody healed. It's not about that. We want to be able to support you. We want, if you're having struggles, we want to be able to say, okay, what's going on? How can we support you? How can we get a team around you and encourage you and show you what maybe you're missing or what you need? And so that is one of the main reasons why reporting is important. Right. I'm gonna say it's important because we're building a relationship with you. And through reporting, we can understand, okay, yeah, you know, Patty's doing this and Lawrence is doing that, and we can understand, okay, I can trust Patty. Like I said, if we receive a life and death thing, I can trust Patty with it because Patty's been reporting. It builds that rapport, right? It builds that idea, okay, well, you know, she's faithful. Because I'm not just, to be honest with you, Brother Kerr would tell you the same thing. I'm not just going to hand a life and death, especially a life and death situation, over to anybody. I'm going to make sure that whoever gets that is actually going to deal with it and deal with it properly, right? And so it comes through that idea of accountability, responsibility. You know, again, it takes 10 to 15 minutes to report. If you can't find 10 to 15 minutes out of a month,
You know what I mean? I'm sure you can find 10 to 15 minutes out of your month to report. And it's very easy, actually. It's not hard at all. So how many of you, real quick, how many of you, anybody need one of these? If you're interested in life teams, want information, hold your hand up right now. We have our ushers and stuff. They're going to hand you out a life team brochure. Just hold your hand up if you would like a life team brochure. Got a couple hands up over here in the back. Yep, awesome. One up here. There you go. Keep your hand up. Keep your hand up. They'll come to you. They'll find you if you would like a brochure. Awesome. Somebody over here. So when you get this brochure, you'll see there's stuff in here. There's the mission. There's the mandate. It talks about because a life worth living is too big to live alone. That's what, we're a team. That's the other thing. One of the questions actually came in during the lunch break, I guess it was. And I'll actually just answer this one now since we're on the topic of life teams. This one says, do all life team members need to be certified DHTs, or can they just be in the process of getting certified? That's a great question. So, yes, life team members they don't have to be certified DHTs to be in your life team. But if they're in your life team, they should be working towards getting certified. Right? That should be a goal, that you get your life team members certified. Okay? Why certification? Because through certification, it's an idea of report, trust, accountability. We can know that, okay, if headquarters gets a call in for your area, your community, they see, okay, who's my closest DHT, my certified DHT? Okay, for instance, let's say, it's Cindy. And so, okay, Cindy, we're going to send this prayer request to you. Can you please reach out to so-and-so and get, set them free, or whatever it is, And so through reporting, that's why we do that, okay? Again, like Jess said, it's not, we want to nag you and, well, why didn't you have any testimonies this month? That's not what it's about. It's about, us building a relationship and understanding, okay, we can trust you. We've built that relationship through reporting, and we can see, if you need help and all that. And so if those of you, how many certified DHTs? We asked life team leaders, how many certified DHTs do we have? Just raise your hand real quick. Awesome. We got a bunch of certified DHTs. Okay. For those of you, raise your hand if you're not certified. Okay. I'm going to address all you guys. Now, what you want to do, if you want to become certified, which I tell you, it's the best first step you'll ever make within JGLM to go towards starting a life team. You really need to do it, because if you're going to start a life team, and if you're interested in starting a life team, the first thing you're going to do is become a certified DHT. To start a life team, you do need to be certified. Now, one of the big changes recently, within the last year, that JGLM has made is you no longer have to get certified first and then wait, because that takes a 3-month process, because it's 3 months of reporting and then a test, and then you get your certification, and then you can start a life team. You can actually do them both at the same time. So you can open up your home, start a life team, start the certification course for yourself, and go through the process of getting certified as you're leading a life team. That's one of the biggest changes. Now, for those of you who got your brochure, if you turn on to the very back page, down at the bottom, you'll see that QR code. If you scan that QR code with your phone, you just hover your phone or your camera over it, it'll actually give you a link. It'll send you to the Life Team website. Once you're in the Life Team website, which is www.startlifeteams.com, you're going to want to sign up and create an account. Okay? This is if you're interested in starting a life team. You're going to want to sign up and create an account, and then you're going to go to you'll see the little hamburger menu in the website. Yeah, and you're going to go to the path to becoming an LTL. All right, and so that's going to give you the step-by-step process of becoming a life team leader, which the first one you're going to see is become a certified DHT. That's the first step. Then you're also going to begin to report, you're going to complete an LTL application, which is a life team leader application. So you're like saying, okay, I want to start a life team at home. Go ahead and fill out an application. Once the application is filled out, you'll hear back from headquarters. They'll actually email you it's called the 48-hour training. Now, it doesn't take 48 hours to go through the training. It's the 48-hour training they want you in the first 48 hours for you, and maybe say it's a spouse that are doing this, or maybe it's just you, to go through that 48-hour training in the first 48 hours. So it's real quick. It doesn't take long. Honestly, I went through when I did my 48-hour training, I think I sat down and I went through everything in like maybe 2-3 hours. It's not a hard thing to do.
For those of you who maybe are not familiar with JGLM and what a DHT training is, It's the Divine Healing Training. It is a course that is free. One thing I always tell people, all of this is, there's no cost to any of this. There's
Right.
you don't have to pay anything to be a part of this. It's all free training. You go, you do the Divine Healing Training, and you have to report for 3 months. Again, your testimonies, your struggles, the things that are going on. After those 3 months, they see you've been reporting, you will become a certified DHT.
Right.
So I don't.
Yeah, there's a couple more steps, but you go to the DHTtraining.com, you sign up and create an account, complete the DHT certification course, which is on the DBI website. So there is one course that absolutely is free, and when you go to jjlmlearnworlds.com, the Dominion Bible Institute website, there is one course on there that's absolutely free, and it's the DHT certification course. That course does need to be done if you intend on becoming a certified DHT. Once they see you've done that course, at any time, as soon as you sign up and create an account, you can immediately fill out your first monthly update. So for instance, right now it's July, it's the end of the month. Typically when they want you to fill your reports out at the end of the month, you already got your month one down. August you report again, September you report again. At the end of September, you can take the test and be certified. So there's no reason that anybody in this room couldn't be certified by the end of September. So by the end of September, you could already be a certified DHT and well on your way. You may have even already started your life team, because you can actually start your life team while you're getting your certification, okay? And so you'll do that to get certified. Now you'll complete a DHT update one time per month for 3 consecutive months. After the 3rd consecutive month, they'll ask you, or there's a place on the website actually says, I'm ready to be certified. You'll click that link and there'll be a 26-question test. Don't get nervous. If you've been through the DHT and you've watched the videos, there's no reason you should fail. That test is there. Hold on, question, one second. That test is there to weed out those who want to try to report and become certified without actually taking the course. Because if you take the course, I promise you, you'll answer every question right. So, we've had people try to bypass the system, and this is why we have the system we have now, because we had people who tried to be sneaky, tried to do their own thing, say they were, oh yeah, I've been through the DHT, got certified, and then we found out later they were doing a bunch of nonsense that we don't agree with. So we had to shut that down, redo some things, and make it right. So, sad you got to do that, but you got to do that. Honestly, there's people out there that aren't honest. So, but yeah, so you can start today on the process to becoming a certified DHT, and you can begin to say, you know what, I know some friends that we can get together, and we could come to my house, and we could start listening to this and get, you got a life team. I'm telling you, okay, here's another change. It used to be, let's just say it was, me, Jess, and Leah. That's our, nuclear family. That's our, our family, right? It used to be that it couldn't be just us that started a life team. It had to be me, Jess, Leah, and somebody else. Then we could start a life team. That's another change. If it's just me, Jess, and Leah, and we want to start a life team in our house, we can do that now. So your immediate family can start a life team right away. You don't have to have another person added in there as well. So if you want to start off with just your immediate family and then start inviting people as you guys grow in this yourself, you can do that as well. So the path to becoming a life team leader. Oh, yeah, you had a question. I'm sorry. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so why was family members, it wasn't that necessary that it was frowned upon, just your family members. I think it was something they realized, oh, I guess, yeah, it could just, and they changed it. And so before it was just, it had to be you and somebody else. Now they actually updated it and said, no, actually, it would work if it was a family. So it was just something that they discovered as they went forward. It wasn't anything that they frowned upon before. The updates, so you're not, the DHT update, what is your question about that again? What's involved? Okay, great. So when you go into the DHT update, you will fill out your name, your email, your phone number. You'll put in there, they'll ask you, are you praying for people and then it'll be like a multiple choice question, daily basis, weekly basis, monthly. They'll ask you what type of ministry you best operate in, whether it's as you go. Do you mostly minister to people in your church, on the street? They'll ask you these questions. They want to see where you're ministering to people. And then there'll be a section for testimonies, and they want to see your testimonies because they want to know, obviously, want to see the results you're getting. and they want to know the results you're not getting. So if there's something, if you're struggling with, there's another comment box where you would actually put that in saying, I prayed with, this is for instance, I prayed with this guy with an arm problem and, nothing really changed, and I've been ministering twice now, haven't, and so you'd put something like that in there, so then, somebody like us or whoever would reach out to you and really encourage you and see, okay, well, what did you do? And analyze the battle. Analyze, okay, well, what did you say then? Or what happened? Was there something going on in the situation when you were praying for him? And that's a long story, but it'd be a place where you could ask those questions. Testimonies, of course, because we want to know you're getting testimonies. Now, here's what a testimony is not, and here's what a testimony is. A testimony is not, I went to Walmart, prayed for a man in a cast. Stop. That's not a testimony. A testimony is I went to Walmart, prayed for a man in a cast, and I actually had him remove it, and he was moving his arm when I left. That's a testimony. Okay, so a testimony is a result of the prayer. Yes, it's nice to know you're out there praying. Don't get me wrong, but a testimony is a result of the prayer. I hold yours. I get him next. Yes.
How would you go about that? Would you just watch the videos together and then discuss it?
You could do that. Honestly, that'd probably be the best way to do it. Now, if you were familiar enough with the course, like if you've been through the course yourself and you're familiar enough with the course yourself, you could teach it yourself. But probably the best avenue would, to throw up, because in that DBI course, like for instance, God's Master Plan, I think it's almost like 18 or 19 courses within classes within that course. Each one's about 45 minutes long. So, you could have, a couple months worth of Life Team material to go over every week. And so you could watch Curry and like she said, have discussion time and talk about those things. So yeah, you could do it that way. And that's probably the best course of action with teaching a DBI. Like I said, unless you were familiar with it enough and you're like, no, you had to, I say, you felt like you could teach it, then teach it. Because that's ultimately what we want to do too, is we want to equip you to actually teach these things yourself. So yes, back there. Yeah, set the captives free. We're, as the banner says, it's time to grow up, step up, and speak up. It's the idea of going out and setting people free, healing the sick, feeding the hungry. A Life Team outreach could be, you hand out hot dogs to the community, bottles of water, and you have a prayer area where you pray for people and set people free as they're eating their hot dogs. You could do that. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
So a Life Team meets weekly and does outreach weekly.
Right.
A Life Team meets weekly, learns together, and then they do outreach weekly.
Right. So as you, yep. Yeah. For instance, let's say, I know what you're saying. You go out and you do street outreach with your team, and you say, here's Bob, you encounter Bob, you set Bob free, right? Bob's free of all that pain and stuff that was going on. And now, it's like, now we got to disciple Bob. So now's a great opportunity. Hey, we meet at our house, Bob, every Thursday, and you can learn how to do this yourself, right? And then so Bob can come to your house and he can sit and listen to the videos or listen to you teach as well, and then he gets to learn and be discipled. Ultimately, yes, we don't want to just make converts and set people free of pain. We want to make converts, set people free of pain, but then disciple them. So yeah, the idea of Life Teams, ultimately, yes, it is setting the captives free, but it's discipling people to grow up, right? Because part of discipleship is growing up, right? That's what discipleship does. It causes you to grow up, but then it's time to step up and speak up. It's time to actually do something with what you learned. So, any other questions? Yes. The certified DHT? Yeah. Yes. Yes. I would highly encourage, that was one of the questions, I don't know if I ever finished asking this, but you don't have to be, so if you don't have to have to invite someone to your team, they don't have to be a certified DHT. Now, as they come in and they learn and they want to become certified, we should encourage them to get certified.
Because like with this instant, everyone's not going to be coming on the same level and might not have the same knowledge of understanding. So they will be learning. But the ultimate goal is to actually encourage everyone get certified, if you know the message and you know to do it.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, so for certification, it has to be done individually or as a married couple. So if you're a married couple, like for instance, Jess and I as life team leaders and certified DHTs, we report as a couple. Like our report says Shane and Jess Smith, and then we report, right? And so for married couples, because the Bible sees us as one, right? We don't see us separate. So for married couples, they report together, certified DHTs and life teams. But individually, each individual, if it was just 4 friends that got together and they wanted to be certified, they can't all report together and do that together. You would have to get certified, and then your other 3 friends would individually have to work for that as well. But you could work together at it as a team, and if you don't understand what I'm saying, but you would have to end up reporting individually as you. So, yeah. Anybody else? Questions? Yes. So they want to know, they would like to see you doing them weekly, okay? And that's why I said there is an option on there for bi-weekly. Some life teams, like I was saying, we'll meet this week, next week we outreach, meet this week, next week we outreach, bless you. But they would like to see them as often as possible, if not weekly, is what they really want to aim for. They want to see, you getting out there once a week with your team. The other thing with that too, I'll just be honest, especially if you're in your community is going to begin to recognize you're out there every week. Whether it's like, for instance, in our community, we have one of our life team leaders, Nate and Jamie, which they're actually set up today, but they, in their area, in their city, they go out to the Dollar General, they set up a couple tents, they cook hot dogs, they hand out bottles of water, and they have big signs saying, need prayer, need healing, that kind of thing. And they've gotten some amazing testimonies already and that's their life team leader outreach, right? And so they do that. And so outreaches
are going to look different for every community, every city. For us, we're in Gettysburg, huge tourist area. We usually hit the streets and we just evangelize on the streets. That's kind of the approach we take. We do take it, same as Nate and Jamie, to our local dollar store, set up a tent, give out free groceries. Obviously it's going to look different for every team, what your resources are, what you can do. But for every, sometimes actually the town we live in is called Littlestown. There's not much there. So for us to go out on the streets is not something that we're doing because there's not going to be anybody on the streets.
Right.
So Gettysburg, though,
there's like 2 million people go through Gettysburg a year. So
it's a great opportunity to get out there and share Jesus. So.
Yeah.
Street corner preaching. We've had some people. They get themselves a megaphone or a microphone and they just preach the gospel.
Yep. We've even in the past made up signs and stood like at the circle in Gettysburg. A lot of traffic, foot traffic and car traffic. And we just hold signs, need healing, need prayer, and people come over and talk to you. Yeah, I'm actually dealing with this. Can you help me? Absolutely. And so it's just getting, just putting yourself out there. Here, we're here to shine our light. What do you need? Yes, you had a question.
So if you're out away from your home and you're supposed to disciple these people, how do you get back to them? Or how do they get to you? Say they're homeless or whatever. Then do you make a commitment to go to them on a regular basis?
Yeah. Good question. Yep. That's the idea of the weekly outreach. You're usually out on the streets on a regular basis. For instance, there's a gentleman, his name is Brother Garth. He's up in the Massachusetts area. Maynard, I think, is actually the town he lives in. But they do, so his life team actually goes out Saturday and Sunday, all day long, both days. And so he actually has 2 teams. One team goes out on Saturday and another team goes out on Sunday. And they're out there every week, rain, snow, sleet, shine, because he's like, you know what, the homeless don't get to go anywhere when it snows and sleets, and we're out there with them. We don't let nothing stop us. And they take food with them. They minister to them. He's actually got, he sent me some private videos. They're not publicly on YouTube because a lot of times YouTube takes things down and stuff when things are said. But he sent me some of the links to private videos of just testimonies and amazing things are happening. He's got several people that are now on his team that used to be on the streets, like homeless. They disciple them now. They're coming into their life team. He's pouring into them. Some homeless people, they kind of stay in the system. They try to get them out if they can. He's got testimony videos of a woman. One I just absolutely cried the first time I ever saw it. This woman, they ministered to her, and because they go out every week, so they can get a testimony video every week. So the first week they're out ministering to her. She's in a wheelchair. She had just come from a doctor's appointment, and she had literally this baggie full of medication. And she goes, "They put me on like 20 some medications." Like she was on 20 some medications. She had this list of medications, this baggie, right? And so this woman couldn't even get out of the wheelchair. They ministered to her. They had her up out of the wheelchair that day. The next week they went back. He was doing another testimonial video with her, and she's standing there. She was off every medication. She's not even needing a wheelchair anymore. And she before her hands were shaking like this. She's drinking a cup of coffee, sharing her testimony. This happened to me, and when it wasn't Garth that even prayed, it was one of Garth's team members. She prayed for me, and as soon as she prayed for me, I felt the power of God go through my body. She goes, "I'm completely healed," and she's just drinking a cup of coffee as still as possible, right? And I'm like, amen. But
I think that's in the importance of the weekly outreach. I know for us, we've set up in the nicer months in Littlestown where we live, like I said, a tent, grill hot dogs, hand out groceries. And we're there the third Saturday or the third Friday night of every month. And people know, oh, they're going to be there. It's a safe place. And then they start to build a relationship with you. And then they start to trust you a little bit and open up a little more to you until they're comfortable enough at the point where they're like sharing their life story and what's going on. And then you can disciple them and then come to our life team, and they're comfortable. Random strangers not necessarily comfortable coming to your life team. They just met you, you said a prayer over them. They're like, but that's why the weekly outreaches are very important for making yourself known in your community, making people know that, hey, I can trust these people. They've been faithful to be here and to offer this for us time after time after time.
we've even done it, and other life teams do it, door-to-door evangelism. Or we just go to our community. We actually, as a life team, map out our streets, and we say, okay, we have our streets mapped out. There's 25 houses on this street. There's 50 houses on this street. There's 75 houses on this street. And we'll go through and we'll say, okay, this week we're going to hit this one. This one got 25 houses, and we're going to go out as a team, and we're going to break off into groups of 2, and we're going to hit that street, and we're going to knock on doors. And when we knock on the people think that kind of intimidates people. We're going to knock on doors. Yeah, we're going to knock on doors. And we're knock on doors, and when they answer, we say, hey, we're just local ministry, and we're out here blessing the community. Is there anything you need prayer for in this house? Is there anything we can do for you? Right? And you'll be surprised how many people literally just vomit all their problems on you. They're like, oh my gosh, and they're talking about all this stuff going on. We've actually even been invited into homes. Can you come in and minister to this family member? Absolutely. And if they invite you in, then you're invited in. You can do whatever you want then, right? But at that door, even if they want prayer at that door, then you give them prayer at that door. I would also encourage you, if you're going to do that as a life team, if you knock on the door and there's no answer, leave something. Okay? Now, if it's I'm not huge on tracts, but like JGLM on the life team website, they do have a printable tract that's really, really good. And it actually has a phone number that if they need prayer, they can contact, right? And then I'll go to headquarters. So that's a really good thing to leave. Brother Curry has actually done this with his team, and we probably should do this with our team. The problem is with not many people, he used to do this, not many people use CDs anymore. I know it's kind of fading out, surprise, But, he said, I used to take teachings. This is a CD. He says, no, somebody didn't answer the door. He says, I'd shove a CD in the door. He says, that way when they open the door, they got this CD by Curry Blake. Like, what is this? And pop it in the car, and they're listening to it. What is this? All of a sudden, they're hearing the truth. So just something like that. These are things that you can think about as a team to do, but we have to reach our communities. Amen? Wrap up real quick. Couple more questions, though. Anything real quick? Just maybe another question or two. Yes? Good question.
That is a good question.
Yep.
You always want to be honoring of your community.
Yep.
For us, we just went to like I said, we live in a small town. We went to the local manager of that dollar store. We said, is it okay? Can we use the parking lot on the side here? We'll stay out of the way. Always get permission. Always, each town's different, whether you need permits.
We didn't need a permit, no.
But we did not need that, no.
No, actually,
If
it was
you're
funny.
giving things away for free, if you're selling food,
Yes.
it's a different story.
Different
But
story.
if you're giving food away for free,
Nothing.
it goes by different
Right.
rules.
So we had that when we set up with the one cop. There was a cop actually saw us. And he come in the Dollar General parking lot or Dollar Store parking lot. And he pulled up and he's like, "Hey, what are y'all doing?" I guess he's just kind of checking. I said, "We're just out here blessing the community and loving on the community, handing out hot dogs for free and bottles of water." And our team got to pray for the police officer. And so it was just again and he was fine with us. He just wanted to check, make sure we were kosher, I guess weren't doing something silly, but yeah, and we were, and that's fine. So yes, one more question, yes. Good question. Yeah, you typically, if you're starting off with a brand new life team and you're inviting people that probably have never really heard this before, I would probably encourage you, and JJLM would, start off with the DHT. And the reason being is because it usually kills the most sacred cows. We've killed a lot of sacred cows in the new man, but the DHT has way more sacred cows that get killed. Anything like Paul's thorn and Job, and Timothy's stomach, and all these things the church typically teaches you, we take care of those things in the DHT. After the DHT, then I would say, yeah, just do new man, because new man really then teaches you, okay, now this is why I can lay my hands on the sick, because I am a new creation. It's Christ in me now. It's no longer I who live, right? And so, and not saying you have to, they encourage you to. You could start off with the new man. You could do that, totally do that.
Again, too, you might already be established.
Yeah.
Like our team's established. If we've got new people coming in, we're not necessarily going to go back to the DHT and start over, so.
You know what I might do? Hold on. What I might have done though? If I already have an established team, like maybe it's 3 or 4 teams.
Kick somebody out the nest.
Well, yeah, I would either it's time for you to go start your own team, or what I would do if I get a bunch of new people in that have never heard this before, guess who's going to teach it? Not me, them. My team members. Because I'm going to teach them how to teach.
A great tool that we found for you life team leaders or who's starting, when you get to that point, the certification course. It's 18 sessions. We had our team, 18 different people, take a course and teach it.
Teach it.
Number one, it shows them this is not hard. You can do it.
Yep.
It's not hard to teach.
It's not hard to do it.
It's it's actually it's laid out. So simple. There's snippets of Brother Curry teaching something, and then there's verses and Bible verses, and we showed them, like, this is easy, and from that, a couple people are like, oh, we think we can do this. We think we're ready to start our own team and branch off.
So when you start a team, if you've never done the outreach and stuff before, do you work with us to say, okay, this is how you go out, this is how you
Right.
pray for people, this is how you deal with, this didn't work, what do we try next?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're here for. Yeah, as life team trainers, we're here to work with you guys that are serious about starting life teams, getting that established in your home, working with you. This is how you do outreach. This is like I said, every life team might look a little different. Some life teams like to do, 2 or 3 songs of worship as they gather together. We do as a life team. We break bread together. We share a meal. Honestly, with the meal thing, we actually are stopping the meal thing, just because I think sometimes it can become a distraction because we're not really there to eat. We're there for teaching and training, but it's nothing wrong with sharing a meal once in a while with your team. Break bread, communion together with your team. Some teams do that. They take communion every time they get together. They do of course they do the teaching. That's the most important part we're there for, right? And then even too, when you go through the 48-hour training, they even tell you as a team, there's nothing wrong with doing this, of receiving an offering or having a place where somebody could put in an offering for the team. And then as a team, you would establish a treasurer who would take care of that and say, okay, we're going to count that every week, and that's going to go into this kitty, and that's going to be that would then be for you and your team when you go out on outreach and you need supplies. You need, we're going to go out, for instance, let's say we're going to go buy, 25 pizzas and go feed the homeless people. Well, you've got that, kitty where you can pull out and say, okay, let's go buy some pizzas and feed the hungry, right? And so there's even nothing wrong with, receiving an offering within your life team, because again, if it's a New Testament biblical church, there's a place where you allow people to give to the ministry, right? So, yeah, awesome. Well, I know.
Yes, we would be there to.
Yes.
You show you,
absolutely.
Hey, this is how we do
Right.
outreach. This is how we approach people. This is how
Right.
we do stuff on the street. Yes, that's, yeah.
Yeah. As life team trainers, we're there to make sure you get off the ground good, successful. So, yeah. All right, awesome. Well, I know it is 2:55 and we went overtime, so but that's all right. So, do you guys? Any real quick last questions? I don't want to leave anybody's question unanswered. Are we good? Good with life teams? Okay. Listen, we're here. Back there's some cards. I think my business cards are back there on the red. Are my business cards back there?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm getting a thumbs up. If you need my number, get my business card, keep in contact with me. If the thing that's probably going to happen is if you are serious and you actually fill out the information as far as like, yeah, I'm ready to start a life team, they're probably going to give me your information, and I'm probably going to be reaching out to you to help you, okay? Remember, you're not alone. We're here to help you guys. Amen?